In the Arctic abyss, a shark swims that was born before Shakespeare wrote Hamlet. It is over 400 years old, and it has never stopped growing. Down here, in the perpetual midnight of the deep ocean, the rules of life that you know are broken. This is a place of immense pressure, a cold that seeps into the very marrow of bone. A place where food is so scarce, you might wait a year for a single meal to drift down from above. You would think nothing could survive here. You would be wrong. Life doesn't just survive here, it thrives. And it grows to impossible sizes. This is the law of the abyss. It's a phenomenon called deep-sea gigantism. Take the giant isopod. On land, its cousin is the humble woodlouse, a tiny creature you can roll in your palm. But down here, 2,000 meters below the waves, it swells to the size of a football. Why? Think about the cold. The water is just a few degrees above freezing. This extreme colds down everything: metabolism, heart rate, even the process of aging itself. It's like putting life into cryogenic sleep, but never waking up. For these animals, life is not a sprint. It's a marathon played out over centuries. And here is where it gets strange. Unlike you, these creatures don't have a genetic off-switch for growth. They are what biologists call indeterminate growers. As long as they are alive, they get bigger. A millimeter here, a centimeter there. Year after year, century after century. The Greenland shark can reach over 7 meters long, but that's only because it died. What if it had lived for another 100 years? Or 200? Here's the part that changes everything. There is a creature in these same waters known as Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish. When it gets old or injured, it does something that defies biology. It reverts its cells back to their earliest form, to a polyp, and it begins its life all over again. It can do this endlessly. An animal that cannot die from old age, and has no genetic program to stop its own growth. Think about what that means. A life without a deadline, and growth without a limit. So the question isn't just, do monsters exist? The real question is, how big are we allowing them to become? On the surface, life follows a blueprint. You are born, you grow to a predetermined size coded in your genes, you reproduce, and then you die. It's a reliable pattern played out over billions of lives. But what if you could just keep growing? Welcome to the world beneath the world. A place where the rules of biology are not just bent, they are shattered. To understand how something can grow to the size of a bus in total darkness, you first have to understand the crushing reality of their home. Imagine the pressure. At 4,000 meters down, the weight of the water above is immense. It's about 400 times the pressure you feel at sea level. Picture a full-grown elephant standing on your thumbnail. That's the force. Every single second, your bones would turn to dust. Your lungs would collapse into nothing. So how does anything survive? It's not about strength. It's about chemistry. These creatures have evolved special organic molecules in their cells called piezolytes. Think of them as internal scaffolding. They protect proteins from being squeezed out of shape, allowing life to function under pressures that would liquefy us. A remarkable adaptation, but that only explains how they survive. It doesn't explain their monstrous size. For that, we need to add the second ingredient of the deep, the cold. It is relentlessly cold down here. The water hovers at a near constant 2 to 4 degrees Celsius, just barely above freezing, forever. This eternal winter has a profound effect on metabolism. The colder an animal is, there its internal engine runs. Everything's down: heart rate, digestion, movement, even aging itself. Think about the Greenland shark. It swimsly through these abyssal plains. Its heart beats once every 10 seconds. It doesn't reach sexual maturity until it is 150 years old. One was found that scientists estimated to be over 500 years of age. It was born before Shakespeare wrote Hamlet. Think about what that means. A life lived in motion. When you live for centuries and your metabolism is crawling at a snail's pace, you have a very long time to grow. Energy isn't wasted on staying warm or moving fast. Instead, it can be channeled into one primary directive. Get bigger.li, steadily, indefinitely. This is known as indeterminate growth, the opposite of the fixed growth plan you and I follow. And here's where the brutal logic of the deep becomes clear. The third ingredient is scarcity. The deep ocean is the largest habitat on Earth, but it is also the most barren. It is a desert. There is no sunlight, so there are no plants. The entire food chain runs on leftovers. A constant, gentle snowfall of dead things, known as marine snow, drifting down from the sunlit world thousands of meters above. A whale carcass that sinks to the bottom is a banquet that might last for 50 years. In a world of famine, size is the ultimate advantage. A larger body is a more efficient storage unit for energy. You can endure longer periods between those rare, unpredictable meals. A bigger mouth can consume a wider variety of prey, from tiny crustaceans to another giant squid. It is a simple, terrifying equation. The bigger you are, the longer you live. The longer you live, the bigger you get. The pressure, the cold, and the darkness are not obstacles to life. They are the very architects of gigantism. They have created a kingdom where the patient and the enormous are the ones who rule. It all makes a strange kind of sense, a perfect adaptation to an impossible environment. But here is the part that keeps scientists awake at night. If their metabolism and long lives mean they never stop growing, what tells them when to stop? Or does anything? So, you think you have the answer. The cold's their bodies down. The crushing pressure makes them strong. A long life simply means more time to grow. It makes a certain kind of sense. It's a neat story, but it's only half the story. And here is where things get strange. The assumption is that the deep is a wasteland, devoid of energy, devoid of the essentials for life. But what if the most important fuel for a giant body isn't scarce at all? What if it's more abundant here than almost anywhere else on Earth? Forget everything you think you know about the deep sea. We need to talk about oxygen. You see, cold water does something remarkable. It holds more dissolved gas than warm water. Think of a can of soda. When it's warm, the fizz escapes instantly. When it's ice cold, the bubbles stay locked inside. The deep ocean is like that ice-cold soda. It is saturated with oxygen. Down here in the eternal midnight, the water is thick with the very element that fuels the fire of life. This isn't a starved environment, it's a supercharged one, and that changes everything. To see the proof, you have to travel from the bottom of the world to the top, to the frigid waters of the Antarctic. There is no crushing pressure here, but there is that same biting cold, and you find the same impossible biology. Polar gigantism. You find sea spiders, Colossentis colossia, with a leg span of 70 centimeters. You find isopods the size of your hand. The common thread isn't the pressure, it's the cold, oxygen-rich water. This is the oxygen hypothesis. The theory suggests that this abundance of oxygen allows creatures to overcome biological limits. Their circulatory systems, often inefficient in invertebrates, can deliver enough fuel to build a much larger body. The cold isn't just a brake on their metabolism, It's an open fuel line to their cells. And now you see the paradox. You have an animal with a metabolism to a crawl living for centuries. Yet it is bathing in an environment overflowing with the very fuel it needs to burn hot and fast. This is the part nobody likes to talk about. It's like owning a world-class sports car and being forced to drive it at walking speed for your entire life. How is this possible? What is the catch? You are looking at it. The Greenland shark. It can live for more than 500 years. It grows to 7 meters long, and it is the moving fish of its size on the planet. Its top speed is less than 3 kilometers per hour. And you could easily outswim it. This is not a life of majestic motion grace. This is a life of brutal, agonizing efficiency. Every single calorie is counted. Every movement is a calculated risk against starvation. The abundant oxygen allows its body to grow enormous. But the scarcity of food means it can barely afford to move that colossal body. The endless growth isn't a blessing. It's a curse. A cage built from its own flesh and bone, powered by an engine it can never truly use. Think about what that means. They are given the raw materials to construct a palace, but only enough food to light a single candle inside. And in that solitary, flickering darkness, they are sentenced to live for centuries. The air in the North Atlantic bites at your face. It's a cold that feels ancient. For marine biologist Julius Nielsen, this was just another day on the research vessel Sanna. The winch groans, hauling a line from 2,200 meters below. From the crushing dark, the team waits. They are hunting for a ghost, a creature rumored to live for centuries. Most days they find nothing, but not this day. Something huge breaks the surface. It isn't thrashing. It isn't fighting. It moves with a nest that feels deliberate. It's a Greenland shark, 5 meters long, a living torpedo of muscle and cartilage. Its eyes are milky, clouded by a parasite that has fed on its cornea for decades, rendering it nearly blind. But these eyes hold a secret that would rewrite our understanding of life itself. And here's the part that changes everything. And inside the lens of a vertebrate's eye, proteins form at birth. They never change. They are a time capsule. Using a form of radiocarbon dating, Nielsen's team analyzed the proteins from the eye of one of these sharks. The results were unbelievable. The shark was 392 years old, give or take a few decades. Think about what that means. This animal was born around the year 1627. It was swimming in these same cold waters before Isaac Newton discovered gravity. It was alive when the United States was still a collection of British colonies. It witnessed the Industrial Revolution from below. It felt the vibrations of 2 world wars through the ocean. It is a silent witness to our entire modern history. And it's still growing. We measure our lives in days and years. We build legacies we hope will last a generation or two. This creature measures its life in centuries. Its legacy is simply to exist, to endure. We see it as a primitive, simple organism, blind, lost in the dark. But what if we have it backwards? What if itsness is a form of wisdom, a biological patience we can barely comprehend? You are watching this on a screen. You will finish and move on to the next thing. You will live your life in a rush of moments that blur together. 80 years if you are lucky. 100, a miracle. You will build a home, raise a family, tell your stories, and then you will be gone. Your time is a frantic, brilliant spark, but the shark's time is a grinding river. It was here long before you, and it will be here long after every memory of you has faded to dust. So you have to ask yourself, What will it see after you're gone? We have mapped the surface of Mars with more detail than our own ocean floor. Think about what that means. We have sent robots across 225 million kilometers of space to analyze alien dust. Yet the world just a few kilometers beneath our ships remains a complete mystery. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration confirms it. Over 80% of our planet's ocean is unmapped, unobserved, unexplored. And in that darkness, life operates by a different set of rules. We search for patterns, for beginnings and endings, for the familiar cycle of birth, growth, and death. But the deep ocean doesn't always comply. Here, some creatures simply continue. They grow for centuries, their bodies never receiving the signal to stop. For them, age is not decay. It is simply accumulation. And here's the part that few people talk about. But we are only seeing the ones we can find. In 1938, a fisherman off the coast of South Africa pulled up a coelacanth. It was a fish thought to have gone extinct with the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. But it wasn't a fossil. It was alive. So you have to ask yourself, what else is down there? What ancient forms of life persist in the crushing blackness, completely unaware of the world of sunlight and seasons that has changed so much above them? Our deepest diving submersible, the limiting factor, can withstand pressure of 16,000 pounds per square inch. That is the equivalent of 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of you. It is the absolute limit of our engineering. And for the creatures living there, it is just home. We look to the stars for signs of alien life. We search for organisms that can survive in hostile environments. But we have an alien world right here, a world that proves life can exist without light, in crushing pressure, and on a time scale that makes a human life seem like the flicker of a candle. The giants of the deep are more than just biological curiosities. They are a message that our understanding of life itself is incomplete. They show us that there are other ways to exist, other ways to experience time. And as we continue to send our small, fragile probes into that immense darkness, we are not just looking for monsters. We are looking for answers about ourselves. If a being can live for 500 years, growing larger with every passing day in a world without sun, what does it know about time that we don't?